June? Okay. The 2022 schedule of the licensure examination, the next one is in June 3 and 4, which is a Saturday and a Sunday. And after that is December 1 and 2, which is a Thursday and a Friday. And then we just want to let you know that hopefully in the requirements for the licensure documents for application, we added, previously it just said dean and registrar need to sign the certificates. But we added, because of previous requests from different schools who don't have deans for OTs, we added or program head. So those who have questions about whether it has to be a dean and registrar, it is now admitted, I mean, it's now acceptable to have dean or program head and registrar to sign the certificates when you're submitting your documents. On the mode and coverage of the board exam.
Ma'am Del, just a while. For the information of everyone, most probably yung board exams natin, or at least until magkaroon na ng bagong board ng OT, would now be June and December, right, Ma'am Del? Because because apparently that's what's in the 5680, RA 5680, that the exams would be June and December. For some reason, that transfer siya for years to February and August. And then I think we were called out by the legal department, legal division, saying na dapat, dahil sa law ninyo, June and December, dapat June and December kayo. Okay, so most probably starting 2020, well, nag-start na in 2021. So the following years, June and December na tayo. Okay, so yun na yung board exams. Unless mag-change yan kapag may separate OT board na. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. On the mode, it is the third item on the list of questions. On the mode and coverage of the board exams. Is the PRC board working towards online or computerized board examination or the usual paper and pencil examination? If the format or mode will be modified, will this be applied on the December board exam? No. Whatever changes is going to happen is not going to be applied for the December board exam, except what Sir Lyle mentioned a while ago. It's kind of a rushed thing. Everyone was caught by surprise that there is going to be a remote possibility of a remote holding of encoding,
extracting and merging,
extracting, and releasing. Although there were some questions from the board who were quite surprised, we have to be super techy to be able to do this, quote unquote. And we have to have a very strong Wi-Fi connection to be able to avail of this. So, because of so many questions and concerns, the chair of PRC is allowing for the next few months board examination scheduled to make it hybrid, meaning we can make it both remotely, or we can go into PRC and do the previous processes that we were doing before, like encoding personally. We just have to be more careful. So as far as we're concerned, the board is going to be pushing through. It's not going to be computerized. It may or may not be totally remotely done, even the releasing, but the examinees will still have to come and take their exams where they are assigned. Yeah. That is the one thing for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So this December exam, if it pushes through, it would still be paper and pencil. I would just like to add to that. In fairness to the commission, it has been looking at the possibility of computer-based licensure examination even prior to the pandemic, because it's contained in the PRC Modernization Act. Okay, there's actually a law that requires PRC to go digital, okay, to go online. And even before the pandemic, there have been some discussions, okay, but after the pandemic, there's been a rush of discourses regarding computer-based licensure examination. And as Ma'am Del and I have learned after hearing from 5 or 6 vendors or companies that have presented processes for computer-based licensure examination, it's easier said than done. Okay, it's not as easy as it looks. Again, maybe a background on how the PRC works. Okay? Kasi may mga nagko-comment na tipong, bakit hindi pa gawing computerized ng OT licensure exam? 100, 200 lang naman ang examinees. How difficult is that? Okay, but what you need to recognize is that when you change, okay, the way that the licensure examination is conducted, you don't change it for just one profession. You have to understand that all the professions, even if we have our own professional regulatory laws, 5680, 11240, or whatever, okay, Nursing Act, Medicine Act, the PRC modernization law, okay, specifies that we are under the administrative control or oversight of the commission. So, hindi pwedeng ang OTPT na mag-computerized board exams tapos yung ibang professions hindi. So, kung i-computerize ang OT, kailangan computerize mo yung 44 other. There are actually now 46 regulated boards, pero 44 lang ang may board exams. Ang food tech at saka ang speech pathology, wala pang boards, okay? So, can you just imagine the logistical nightmare of yung i-computerize mo yung lahat, okay? And you need to consider that 2 or top 3 biggest boards, yung professional teachers, criminology, and nursing. They have over 100,000 examinees. And if you're gonna do it virtually, there are a lot of issues to deal with. First and foremost, security and integrity of the board exams. How do you prevent cheating? And is it equitable? Kasi dalawa yan eh. Pwede kang mag-computerized based licensure examination na pupunta sila sa isang lugar. Yung para kapag nag-IELTS ka, okay? Or yung ano ba yon, yung mga exams na ganon, pupunta ka, di ba? Tapos sa computer ka. Tapos after the exam, nakuha mo na kagad yung score mo. Okay? That's one. And the other one that they're looking at is actually taking the exam from home, from your own home. And again, there's a lot of issues there. First and foremost, yung equity. Sino ba, lahat ba ng examinees merong access to good internet and to devices that are compatible with whatever system is going to be used for the computer-based licensure examination? Okay? Kung naman pupunta ka sa center to take your computerized based licensure exam, is there actually a center big enough, for example, for nursing or for criminology, to accommodate na sabihin na natin 10,000 examinees, okay, for one university or one location. Tapos you're gonna have to fit that with computers or laptops or even yung tablets kasi merong company na nag-propose na bibigyan ng tablets lahat ng examinees tapos doon sila magte-take ng exam. Okay. Nung nalaman niya na hundreds of thousands ng criminology exams, biglang napatigil siya, sabi niya, wait lang ho kasi we only have like 1,000, 2,000 kami pipipong sa medicine lang yan eh. Okay? Yung 1,000, 2,000 medicine board exams lang yan. So, can you imagine kung meron kang teachers na hundreds of thousands at saka criminology, hindi mo talaga kakayanin yan. Tapos, syempre, yung mga technology na paano mo malalaman na hindi nag-cheat, hindi sila nagbubukas ng libro or ng ibang browsers. May mga technology for that, but they will cost a lot of money. At ang tanong dyan is that, i-absorb ba yan ng gobyerno or ipapass on sa mga examinees? Because right now, ilan sa mga board examinees or mga board examinee applicants ang may kakayahan magbayad ng additional na fees just to apply. So, what I'm just saying is, shifting to a computerized based licensure examination is a lot more complicated than how we make it to be. And if you're going to ask my personal opinion, it's not going to be forthcoming in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think so. Okay, so hindi mangyayari yan ngayon. Okay, not in the near future. So the commission is really looking at how to make things safe in the conduct of the licensure examinations for everyone. My examinees, board examiners, employees ng PRC, and even yung mga kinokontract, kasi yung mga nagbabantay sa mga rooms, hindi naman employee ng PRC eh. On ano yan eh, anong tawag doon ma'am? Yung job orders. Okay? Yeah, they're mga contractuals lang yan. So, kapag sila ang nagkasakit, hindi naman yan sasagutin ng PRC at hindi naman tayo sure na may PhilHealth lahat yung mga yan. Okay? So, wala silang benefits from the PRC. So, we need to be fair din naman. Na we're gonna ask them to take risks na bantayan kayo habang nag-exam na wala naman talaga silang benefits. Okay? Kung sasabihin naman natin, ba't hindi natin bigyan ng benefits, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Again, it will boil down to the budget. Okay? Kung magkakaroon ng enough to pay all of them, including their benefits. Okay? All right. So, okay. Sige. I think si Sir John naman daw.
Okay lang po, sir. I think there are still, I think one of the questions last few questions
Okay.
that is important to be answered, I think here is yung for the health protocols, for the RT-PCR swab test to be required before the exam.
Ma'am
Will
Del?
the quarantine be required?
Yeah.
As well?
Okay. The PRC has issued PRC Memorandum Order number 68, series of November 6, 2020, and it is entitled Updated Standardized Guidelines on the Strict Protocols to be Observed in the Conduct of Licensure Examinations. You might want, for those who are taking the exams, you might want to browse that on the PRC website, but I will give you some highlights on what it says, specifically on the RT-PCR requirement. Okay. In Title 2, RT-PCR testing, examinees and examination personnel who fall under certain groups like suspected cases, individuals with relevant history of travel and exposure, healthcare workers with possible exposure. In those cases, examinees and examination personnel shall be required to submit the result of their RT-PCR tests. Only those examinees with negative results shall be allowed to take the examinations. However, if an examinee does not fall in the above mentioned 3 categories, he or she may undergo a 14-day quarantine period where he or she is asymptomatic for at least 14 days prior to the scheduled exam date, provided that he has or she has no close contact or exposure to cases, and then they will be allowed to take and assist the examination in the absence of an RT-PCR test. If a person is required to undergo the 14-day quarantine, you have to really, this is how many pages? 12 pages long memorandum order. And I suggest that each one of you take a look at this just to make sure that you don't belong to the specified groups. If a certificate of quarantine or its equivalent is required, it has to be signed and submitted by, signed by a physician or a municipal health officer or a barangay health officer attesting that this person has been in quarantine for 14 days. All examinees and examination personnel will observe physical distancing of 2 meters between examinees, have to wear face masks, preferably 3-ply surgical mask, and face shield at all times. The examinee will have to submit duly accomplished informed consent Annex A and Annex B, which is health declaration forms, with a notice of admission, NOA. So you will have to submit 3 forms. And this can be downloaded on the PRC official website, www.prc.gov.ph. Please make note of that, because you will not be accepted without these forms. You have to bring your own meals. All windows will be opened for ventilation. Bring your own pens, pencils, and erasers. Borrowing will not be allowed. Talking and toileting are prohibited. Talking in the hallways is prohibited. And loitering, sorry, I thought toileting. Loitering are prohibited. There will be a designated entrance and exit gates. Announcements and infographics shall be posted in the venues on precautionary measures, symptoms, and plan if in case an examinee develops symptoms. Foot bath with 10% chlorine solution will be available. Temperature scanning will be there. People will have to undergo temperature scanning, and temperature will have to be equal to 37.5 degrees or less. Those with 37.5 or more shall be referred to the building supervisor and will not be allowed to take the rest of the examination. Alcohol, 70%, isopropyl or ethyl will be available at the entrance gate. And the examinees will have to proceed immediately to their designated examination rooms and will not be allowed to leave. There are post-examination requirements. All examinees shall be required to download and fill out a post-examination health surveillance form attached as Annex C. In the same website, you can download that. And that will be submitted within 14 days after the exam. Now, those who are coming from regions outside NCR will have to follow IAPF EID, or Emerging Infectious Diseases, with regard to interzonal and intrazonal movement. And the examinee who fails to take his or her scheduled examination shall be allowed to take it immediately succeeding in the next immediately succeeding scheduled examination date, provided they have 1, health reason, and 2, travel restriction. Okay, that's in summary, but you can download that. It's MO number 68, series of November 6, 2020. Okay,
Thank you,
thank
Ma'am
you.
Del. Sige po. So, Sir Lyle, would you briefly, quickly lang to answer for the CPD units, the last question about the expiry or validity for the CPD units
Okay.
already acquired,
Yes.
since we have the deferred rule.
Okay. There, I'm able to share. All right. This is the PRC website. So there. Okay. Number one with CPD is that for those renewing, if you do not have for one reason or another, you don't have your CPD units, you can still undertake do an undertaking until December 31, 2021. What does that mean? So it just means that if you do not have enough CPD units, 15 units to renew your license, what you can do is just sign an undertaking promising that sa next na renewal ninyo, you will now present 30 CPD units to make up for the 15 that you didn't submit for this particular cycle. Okay, that's number one. Do you have until December 31, 2021? However, there have been recommendations, and this coming week, we will be discussing, kaming nasa CPD program, we will be discussing the possibility of extending this undertaking, meaning pwede bang gawin ito until December 31, 2022. Okay, so I do not have yet the answer kung i-extend ba yan, but ang sure is that until December 31 of this year, you can avail of the undertaking. Okay, number two, Okay, so dito ka ito sa here registration e-services. Okay, if you're gonna renew your ID, okay, your license, okay, dito ka pupunta. Okay, ID renewal. This is what you're gonna, okay, that's what you're gonna click on. All right. Okay, and then, okay, wait a minute. Let me just get that out of the way. Okay. Ang mga question din is, ano yon? Gumawa na ako ng appointment para magkaroon ng para mag-renew ng license ko. Okay? But for some reason, hindi ako makapunta kasi naka-lockdown kami or naka-quarantine ako or whatever. So, here's the important thing. When you do your ID renewal online, okay? So, meron dito dalawang links na ibibigay sa inyo. You can choose either one. So, you just need to create an account. Okay, so it says here the undertaking can be availed until December 31, 2021. Okay, so let's close those. So dito kayo pupunta. Okay, either you create an account or sign in. Now, the thing is that a lot of people seem to be panicking kasi kapag hindi nila makuha yung ID nila. But the thing is that, okay, once you submit your application tapos nagbayad ka online through PayMaya, through your credit cards, through GCash or any other okay, once na-verify na yung payment mo, okay, you are considered renewed even kung hindi mo pa nakukuha yung license mo, okay? Sa database ng PRC, your license to practice is current or valid, okay? Kasi may mga lumalapit sa akin, ako hindi ko pa nakuha yung ano ko kasi yun, naka-close or hindi ako pinapayagang lumabas, okay, for whatever reason. So, wag magpanic, all right? And then if you're having difficulty with navigating the website of the PRC, then you can always get in touch with them through technical assistance, okay, at prc.gov.ph. Nandun naman yon. You just need to make sure tama ang spelling ninyo ng assistance, which is ASSIST. Okay? Kasi marami nagrereklamo, bumabalik daw yung yung email sa kanila. Kaya pala wrong spelling, okay, yung kanilang assistance. Okay? It may seem natatawa ka, Sir John, pero totoo yan. Ilang beses na akong kinukulit ng mga OTs. Bakit hindi sumasagot ang PRC? Mali pala ang kanilang spelling. Okay? Ano ba? Hindi mo alam ang spelling ng assistance. Okay. So, technical assistance at prc.gov.ph. Now, the other thing is also, if you worked as a frontliner, okay, during the pandemic, you can earn CPD units for that. Okay? Kung meron kang mga activities that you engaged in during the pandemic related to to the pandemic, let me share my screen again. Okay, pwede kang mag-earn ng CPD units doon. Okay, for the latest, okay, punta kayo dito sa continuing professional development. Okay, tapos punta kayo dito sa issuances and memorandums. Okay? So, dyan makikita nyo lahat ng, okay, kunyari, ano yung important prescriptive periods in transacting with the CPDAS, okay, para sa mga providers. Tapos ito, I will point out these two resolutions, 1239 and 1240. Sila yung nagsasabi that you can earn CPD units during the state of public health emergency, during the pandemic, and if you perform any function related to being a frontliner. Okay? Pero dapat totoong frontliner ka. Okay? Hindi yung nagpapanggap na frontliner. Okay? So, those are the things that I think you would need to take note of when you renew your PRC. Okay, so that's it for CPD. Okay,
Okay po.
thank
Thank you
you.
po, Ma'am
All
Del
right.
and Sir Lyle. So later we will be going back to you with the new questions that we are collecting right now. So for the time being, we'll open the floor now to Sir John to discuss naman po the updates that we have for CHED for the face-to-face classes po. Sir, you're on mute po.
Oh, sorry.
Sige
I
po,
will
sir.
share. Okay, I will go through this very quickly. Makita na sa screen.
Yes po, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Again, let me go to the Chronicle of Events. Diretso na tayo. Yan, January, as last January 2021, yun, clinical internship, guidelines on clinical internship for medicine, nursing, midwifery, PT, medtech, and public health. And tapos 5 months, 6 months later, May dentistry, pharma, respiratory therapy was released. Then last August, RadTech. Tapos last month, September, ayan, discontinued. Discontinued ang clinical internship for the rest, except for medicine, no?
Yeah.
Except for medicine. So, para sa mga nagmamadali, huwag pong magmamadali kasi ayan sila nagmamadali. So, balik din. Recall yung CMO nila because of there were things that needed to be corrected per current situation, no? Per current situation. So natigil na naman sila. Yung I know some of the schools have not started yet, even if they were in the list, but they were not. They are still in the application mode. But before their application can be approved, ayan, na discontinued. So so balik tayo, back to square one sila, yun, together with us sa OT program, no? Okay, so that's September now, October na ngayon. Let me reiterate again, na iba yung sa atin, and that is because we did a little more extension rather than just clinical internship. May preclinical pa and laboratory and courses with skills in laboratory. Again, this is to review ulit. Take note, for the rest of them, clinical internship lang yung nakafocus sa kanila. Whereas for the OT, we had to extend our fence, our boundaries, widen our boundaries to preclinical courses and OT skills laboratory. Okay. Yan. Again, supposedly I am scheduled to defend again this September, pero wala. All of those September dates were canceled. So I will have to be moved, or the OT program will have to be moved for October na uli. The skills laboratory courses will include only 3 instead of 5 originally 5. Tatlo na lang. And yan, as is pa rin. The 360 hours will cover will be will cover the 30% of face-to-face, limited face-to-face clinical rotation, and the other 70 or 840 hours on the flexible learning strategies. Okay. The 360 or 400, is it this one? Okay. The 360 hours on-site deployment to an affiliation center shall include direct and indirect client care and supplemental activities only. No, I was asked later. Okay, and the other one, the 360, which includes the direct client care activities, includes only the OT provisions, OT evaluation and assessment, and or interventions that require physical handling through limited face-to-face only. No, when necessary, only when necessary. Take note of this. When extremely necessary. Otherwise, an online or virtual provision of services can be done within the facility. This one. Okay, ito. This was asked. Ito, magbago to. Okay. Clinical supervisor, instructor, student, intern ratio is still 1:4. 1:4. The student intern or client patient ratio shall have a minimum of 1:2, either on face-to-face case or teletherapy. For the duration, minimum for the duration of students rotation in an affiliation center. It is now further lessened down. No, you will in the CMO 24, which is reiterated in CMO 52, the current CMO that we have, ang minimum dun is 1:4. Now this is further reduced to 1:2. The 1:2 niyan is either on face-to-face cases or teletherapy. And this is a reiteration of the other line previously. Client or direct client care should be in agreement to set specific clear-cut criteria vis-a-vis the cases and medical conditions that the OT intern student will see for face-to-face engagement. Procedures that increase the risk of infection are deemed risky and are not recommended. Let me share again. Let me share also the other one. Yeah, mali. Am I still around?
Yes po, sir.
Bakit wala akong makita sa phone ko? Why can't I see myself? Wait a while.
You're still okay, Sir John. We can still see your PowerPoint. We can hear
Yes
you. We
po.
can see you.
The
We're all
screen is
good.
there po.
Okay.
You can just continue the presentation, Sir John. Nakikita
Okay,
namin
okay.
yung slides niyo.
Okay.
We're seeing po, sir, the last slide na po on the guidelines for patient or client handling po.
Okay. Doon kasi sa kasi I was made to take a look to review the CMO, the CMO for internship, the CMO for internship. Dun sa CMO for internship, yung intern patient ratio natin doon is 1:4. No, naka-specify doon 1:4 for evaluation, 1:2 at most 10 for discharge, and 1:2 at most 10 patient to be seen per day. The TWG or the working group which I had to be in front of had advised me that seeing 1:1 or 4 patients a day might be a tall order, might be a tall order for the intern or for the clinic, for the clinic. Paano kung walang pasyente? Paano kung walang internet yung pasyente? Paano kung and so I had to reduce that to 2 at minimum 2. Whether this is a teletherapy or an in-person handling of the patient. Minimum. If you can go over, then the better. No. Also, ito sa kanila na to, a student should be able to finish at least 10 patient requirements during the entire duration of the internship, whether in-person handling or teletherapy. Siguro makuha na nila yung 10, no?
Okay po.
Yun, kaysa kung sundin yung previous CMO on internship. So 10 lang ngayon ang hiningi yun, just like the other programs, may number of patients na. For example, medicine may 10 of this case, 20 of this case, hindi na. Sa kanila is very much reduced to 5 to 2 to 3. At least may experience lang for a brief of time, no? Yung midwifery nagmamatigas ulo on 20, wala din. Hindi talaga nila makuha yung 20 patients na mapaanak yung pasyente. So they had to lower it down to 2. They had to lower it down to 2, no? Anyway, in our case, 10 patients for the whole duration of internship, whether teletherapy or face to face. Okay, anyway, yun lang yung nagbabago, and since I am wala na naman, I am moved to October, and the rest of the programs are discontinued. So end of 2021, hopefully, no, matuloy na end of 2021. So by end of 2021, and most of the schools, that's probably the end of the first semester. So by the January of 2022, mag-start na ang second semester. So well, mauso din naman tayo for the second semester, no?
Okay po, sir.
Sir John,
Ah,
quick question.
mhm.
Tuloy pa rin bang accreditation ng clinical affiliation centers?
Oh,
So what
yun.
happened to that?
Okay. There was a question. There's a question on, will CHED be accrediting centers? Are there guidelines on affiliation centers as well? If yun. Okay. Yung accreditation of centers by CHED, so natigil siya by last quarter of 2018. Tapos 2019 yung renewals, but 2019 walang natuloy doon, and even on the issuance by the central office of those who were supposedly approved on the in 2018. Tapos pumasok na ang 2020, nag-lockdown na. So ito,
So wala nang
If-
accreditation, sir, ng
if
clinical affiliation
the-
centers.
if the center has been visited already, okay, last 2018, carry over na lang muna siya. Okay? Carry over na lang muna siya at least until this time, 2021 and 2022. Carry over na lang muna siya kasi walang tao. Take note, na-transfer yung decentralization of accreditation of affiliation centers in 2019. Tapos wala pang nagawa ang mga regional offices. And so wala. No?
Okay.
And therefore, if you have had a visit in 2018 or 2017, i-carry over na lang muna until 2022. No? Until 2022. Now, in the IITF rules and the joint memorandum, meron doon nakalagay, preferably may base clinic ka at doon mo ilagay ang mga interns mo sa base clinic. That's for safety reasons. Okay? That's for safety reasons. Now, ibig sabihin, nandyan lang, and then you can, therefore, it's easy for the school to monitor. Rather than sending the student to far away place na we will never know. No? So, ang kaso, there are schools na walang base clinic. Necessarily, pupunta sila dito sa Manila. No? Necessarily, pupunta sila dito sa Manila and affiliate centers, which is maging risky na for the school, risky na for the student, and risky for everybody else. No? Yun.
Okay.
Oh.
Sir,
Oh.
thank you po. Thank you also for that question, Sir Lyle, for the clarification. So, sir, I think one of the questions po that was raised during the General Assembly last time was they were asking po if there would still be a public consultation first before the release of the CMO.
Yeah.
Wala na po.
Wala na po.
Wala
Okay.
na po. Yung mga CMO ay galing sa taas. Galing sila sa taas, binaba na lang dito sa baba for review. And then when they ibalik mo sa taas, they start breaking it down. They start tearing it down, no? O para bababa na naman uli. Pero there are no this is not going through like the regular development of CMO. Ngayon nga ang tagal-tagal no? Ang tagal-tagal tapos minamadali, nangamali na naman. Namali only to be retracted, no? Yun. A CMO development goes through very slow, no? 5 years, 6 years, by then paso na siya, outdated na siya, but anyway it gets but yun, ngayon ang ginawa nila galing na sa taas, i-trickle down lang dito sa akin for review. Pag pinasa na, warak-warakin na naman nila. Kasi for the finer details kasi yan, no? For the finer details. Yan. Considering the situation now, it changes a lot. Buti nga diyan sa NCR GCQ na, no? So masaya na kayo diyan. GCQ kayo. Kami dito sa Laguna. Ewan ko sa Cavite ba, Sir Lyle, Sir Lem, MECQ pa kami dito
MECQ po.
MECQ. So Calabarzon is MECQ. So anyway, very fluid ang situation that just as when you have it changes.
Okay po.
Ganun.
Sige po, sir. I think one also of the questions that was raised, ito po yung one of the pressing concerns because diba po there is a requirement po for face-to-face. But since nga now that we are doing everything virtual for clinical internship, will that can the interns still graduate since they are unable to meet the 360-hour face-to-face requirement? Or sabi daw po, will the graduation be deferred until the face-to-face requirement is met?
Di na. The clinic sa CMO, old CMO natin, so yung CMO 24 for clinical internship, there are 3 parts doon. Okay? There are 3 parts that says, why can't I share?
Naka-share pa po yung screen nyo ngayon po. Yung PowerPoint kanina.
Sir, i-close nyo muna tong current PowerPoint and then i-share nyo yung bago ninyong material.
Okay. Doon sa CMO 24 on internship, the 1,200 is divided into 3 parts. A direct client care, which is 50%, and indirect client care, which is 30%, and supplementals, which is 20%. So may 50, 30, and 20. No? Ulitin ko, 50% direct patient care, 30% indirect patient care, 20% supplementals. Okay? So sa CMO ano yan ha? CMO24, sa CMO24 yun. So, tanong nila, paano kung walang pasyente? O,
I
sana
think, sir,
yung...
yung question po nila was more of po yung
Oo nga, kaya nga,
face-to-face.
kaya nga, I will go to that. Paano kung walang pasyente? Paano na yung 50% mo? So, sinasabi ko, in the event of no patient for the day, no face-to-face, no tele, the 30 and the 20 can be expanded or may be made to cover or patch up the 50% direct patient care. In other words, the presence ng intern in the facility, whether may pasyente o wala, counts. Okay? Counts. Whether may pasyente or wala, because meron pa siyang indirect patient care and supplementals. No? So, gagraduate ba? Gagraduate ba? Covered niya ang 1,200. Okay? Covered niya ang 1,200. Okay, i-expand lang yung kaya anyway, yung the school has to take a look at the program ng facility. Dapat naka-indicate doon sa program nila what if there are no patients for the day. What will they do? What will the interns do? Okay?
Sir John?
Oo.
Sir John, Dante Perez po, pwede magtanong?
Mhm.
Sir Dante, sorry, sir. You can send
sorry.
you can send po your questions to the PAOT Tech team so that
Okay, thank
we
you.
can do it sa open forum. So for now, we are still answering po some of the questions that were raised during our General Assembly because these were left po that were unanswered pa. Yun. Sige po. Sorry, sir. Pasend na lang po sa PAOT Tech team nung question. Okay po. Sige po. Sir, sorry.
Okay. So anyway, yun. They will still graduate. No? They will still graduate because they have covered naman the hours. I know many of the schools now are doing teletherapy even as they are not sending their students out, no? Nasa bahay lang sila and the supervisor is in school or in the clinic lang. So ibig sabihin hindi necessary na ipadala mo yung intern sa clinic, no? Mag-affiliate sa affiliation center. Hindi necessary 'yun. Meron din provision doon that there has to be a consent ng parents, there has to be a consent ng intern kung mag face to face ba siya or not, no?
Okay po. Sige po.
So,
Sir,
meron
in
doon.
connection po to that, since na-mention nyo na rin po kanina yung consent from parents or interns, there was also a question last GA po about the RT-PCR swab, if it's part of the protocols po or the guidelines in the CMO. And people are asking po about how realistic po it can be done since the burden of cost might be on the families and schools po.
Yun ang utos nila eh. RT-PCR. Wala tayong magawa doon.
Opo.
Yun ang
Pero sir, in the
yun.
guidelines po ba, is it stated po ba for kung sino yung sino yung mag-handle nung cost nun? Will it be
Ah,
for the students or sa school ba dapat?
estudyante.
It
Estudyante.
will
Sometimes uh, uh, it may be part of the it may be part of the tuition. It may be part of the tuition. Otherwise,
Okay.
if that is why kailangan ang consent ng intern if he wants to have a face-to-face or not. Kasi kasi ayun, he doesn't want to, I then go to
Online.
online. No,
Okay.
he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to spend. But if he wants to come to school, go to an affiliation center, then he has all these requirements to do. Now, for now, RT-PCR swab is still a requirement. Natuwa ako kasi nabasa ko doon sa Facebook ay hindi na nangangailangan ng RT-PCR ang Cebu. When you go to Cebu. Baka ano na din sa NCR na din. Baka hindi na rin kailangan ang mga establishments doon, baka hindi na kailangan RT-PCR. But for as long as requirement siya ng IITF, then we'll just have to follow that. It's an expense by the student. No?
Okay po. Sige, sir. Thank you. And then last po, sir, for the questions last GA. Are there provisions in the guidelines about center requirements based on the physical space or setup, use of the PPEs, protocols to be followed if an intern contracts COVID? Will all of these po be included in the guidelines that will be released?
Yes. Nandun, nasa provision yan. Also, dito sa ayan, initiation of on-site clinical internship by an HEI, ito magbago na tong date na naman dito, of an HEI depends upon the readiness of the HEI and the practice placement. Now, sinong dito sa HEI, ang mag-approve niyan ay CHEDRO, LGU, CHEDRO and LGU, and IITF. No? IITF local representative. Now, doon sa practice placement naman, sino mag-approve? Wala. Ang mag-approve niyan ay ang HEI. So, if the HEI finds it accommodating, in other words, ready siya of all the requirements, then you can affiliate on that. Pero kung hindi, for safety reasons, do not. Okay? Do not. HEI, ang responsibility siya ng HEI. Oo.
Okay.
Kaya nga dapat ang kuan doon general guidelines kailangan may base clinic yung eskwelahan so that the wisdom of that is madali mong ma-monitor kasi nandyan lang siya, no, rather than doon sa malayo na affiliate center.
Okay. Sige po, sir. Thank you po. So, announcing also to everyone here, since we had some technical interruptions din po kanina and we are starting to get an influx of questions now, asking permission po to our panelists if it's okay that we'll be extending po for a maximum lang na 20 minutes. We're targeting maximum of 20 minutes to answer now the new questions that just came in. Okay lang po ba, Sir Lyle, Sir John, Ma'am Den?
It's okay with me.
Yeah, thank you po.
Yeah,
Sige.
I'm fine with it.
Okay po, thank you po. So, the questions that were raised during the General Assembly have been answered already. So, I'll give the floor to Dai.
Okay, so just like what Sai mentioned, the questions from the GA were all answered already. So the floor is now open for the on-site questions. No, so these are the questions and some clarifications that the attendees have messaged our tech team. So we'll start reading questions po for CHED, and then that would be followed by PRC. So let me read first the questions. Okay, so I'll go ahead and read the ones for CHED po. So the first question po, Sir John, regarding face-to-face internship requirement. When will the minimum hours be applicable? In one institution, they have interns from batch 2020 to 2021 who will finish their internship this November. Do they have to re-rotate to centers to comply with the minimum hours of face-to-face?
Hindi na. Hindi na.
Hindi na.
Proceed sila as is.
Okay, thank you, sir. For the next question, an educator is asking, should the minimum hours for face-to-face internship be distributed in all settings, or can they finish the minimum hours required in just one setting?
Chinek ko yung CMO 24 on internship natin. May nakasabi lang doon na settings, ha? Adult, mental health, pedia, community, yun lang. But there are no specifications on the number of hours or no specifications on the number of our distribution. Walang ganun pala, no? Basta yun lang. And therefore, but in practice, however, that's what we do, di ba? We let the student go through these different generic settings, no? Generic settings. Now, since there are no specifications on that, okay? There are no specifications on that, and to ease up things, yun nga, 10 patients, whether face-to-face or tele, throughout the whole internship duration. Sana yung apat, yung generic na apat. Bahala na sa eskwelahan kung mag-distribute nun, no? Kasi sometimes they are available, sometimes they are not. Ngayon mas marami ang mental health. Okay? Marami ang mental health na not necessarily coming from the NCMH.
Yeah.
You can pick up persons, no, with mental health issues, and then it becomes a patient now. See, tapos adult FISDIS medyo wala. Pakonti. Pedia madami pa din on telehealth, ha. Medyo madami pa din. So anyway, discretion sa eskwelahan kung paano niya i-distribute ang yung settings. No more specific number of hours, because anyway it is not specified in the CMO.
Okay, sir. Thank you for answering that question po. This time I'll move po to regarding clinic accreditation, so do the base clinics of schools need to be accredited?
Base clinics ng schools.
Because right now, di ba sir, parang most universities and colleges, they have their own parang virtual clinics that they have set up to help the interns, no? So
Not
do
for
they
now.
need accreditation too? Not
for now kasi base clinic naman eh. Base clinic, yes, base clinic naman eh. So not for now.
Next po is, what if there's a new clinic affiliation? How will they apply for CHED accreditation? Will this be suspended too?
Go through the website on the necessities, on the requirements, okay? On the requirements, submit that to the regional office. And the least that you can do is having submitted the requirements to the regional office. Yung regional office naman, I do not know if they can do it, but anyway, ang ano doon is kasi regional office tapos walang mga tao pa in the regional offices ha. As far as OT is concerned, ang central pa din ang pupuntahan. Ang central wala din undermanned din. So hindi siya maasikaso on time, okay? But the least is you have made the first step of submitting the requirements to the regional office.
Okay. Another question is, it was mentioned earlier that those which were visited last 2018, so na-carry over po, no, yung kumbaga yung requirements and the visitation that happened. What if a new center is applying just this year and they have already paid? Are they allowed to accept interns given that visit from CHED may not happen anytime soon?
Oh yun, nakagawa na sila ng first step. Oh, nakagawa na ng first step. Okay na yun.
Even sir, without yung formal visit from the CHED, it's okay. So they can accept interns.
A tall order for CHED to be visiting them kasi undermanned ang agency, no?
Okay.
Regional or central office. And yun, wala mga tao nila. Ako, wala. Walang kwan. So buti nga PRC okay pa sa tao ang PRC. Pero sa
Skeleton pa rin sila.
Skeleton.
Last question po under clinical accreditation. A participant is asking for updated guidelines on how to apply for accreditation of OT affiliation centers. So this is for initial application po. Also, is there a listing with contact information of all approved OT affiliation centers offering either face-to-face training and teletherapy so that colleges and universities know where to deploy their interns?
List of
accredited affiliations po.
List of I will forward that to PAOT. Okay, I will forward that to PAOT. Yung list last 2018, no? List last 2018. Tapos what's the other question is?
The other question po is
updated.
Actually, yun na po yun. Updated guidelines lang po.
Guidelines. Walang updated guidelines yet.
Yun pa rin.
Yun pa din. Basta the first step. Make the first step. Okay? Make the first step. Apply to the regional office. Okay? Apply to the regional office. Yun lang.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Make the necessary, get done with the necessary requirements, and yun na muna. Okay, yun na muna.
This time naman po, these are questions regarding the date of release of the CMO. To clarify about the date of release of the guidelines, does it mean that the academic institutions and centers shall postpone their plans or preparations for possible face-to-face classes as it was mentioned before during PAOT GA to start preparing?
Wala tayong, as I've said, ngayon lang September discontinued lahat.
Okay.
So we do not know when, no, the dream is by the end of 2021 everything gets done, okay, signed na, and so by the second semester we can start. The people upstairs are doing their thing din naman, no. Nagkukumahog din sila para may trickle down doon sa baba.
Okay po, sir. Thank you. Few questions left for Ched. To clarify, is face-to-face internship
Sa'yo lahat.
Sa
to
akin yan lahat,
clarify, meron din po for PRC. So, to clarify, is face-to-face internship optional considering the new CMO?
Optional nga. Optional nga. May consent yun whether the intern wants it or not. No? If he wants a face-to-face, ito yung requirements niya. If he wants a online, ito lang din yung requirements niya. Both of them will graduate anyway. Gets done.
Thank you po. All right. Last clarification po for Sir John. There was news that President Duterte signed a memo allowing face-to-face for allied health professions and students, no? So a participant is asking for clarification regarding that matter.
Retracted nga, discontinued yun.
Yeah.
Yun. Last September
Okay.
September 16. September 16 discontinued.
Ayan, discontinued.
May release last January, release last May, release last August, discontinued this September. Kasi madali. Ayan. Tuloy.
Okay, so thank you, Sir John. Those are all the questions directed to Ched. I'll now pass the mic to Sai
Sir Lyle
for the
naman.
PRC questions. Thank you po.
Let's now go to PRC, although medyo mas onti naman po yung question. So first ko was about regarding test centers. So how about po for the testing centers, would there be additional assigned testing centers outside Manila or Cebu?
Right now, the honest answer there is we do not know. Kasi usually it's Manila and Cebu for OT. And for PT, it's Manila, Cebu, and I don't know if it's CDO or Davao, but may isang may isang Mindanao ang PT. Okay? But the thing is that kung merong mga mag-request and there are enough people requesting, I think pwede naman mag-request ng additional testing centers outside NCR. Okay, so ngayon ang alam namin na sigurado for OT is Manila and Cebu. Okay, we do not know kung merong testing centers sa Manila. And by the way, yung mga taga-NCR and regions 4A and 4B, pwede ninyong ipa-deliver ang inyong renewed PRC license. Okay, may delivery services, pero only for NCR and regions 4A, B. Okay?
Okay po. Thank you, sir. So, next naman po is, if they have already filed their notice of admission, yung NOA po nila, for June 2021, yung na-postpone po na boards, can they change their testing center, let's say daw po, from Davao to
From
Cebu?
Manila to Cebu, ganon?
Opo, parang ganon po. Yes
okay.
po.
They'll have to get in touch with the registration division of PRC kasi sila yung merong control dyan kung paano ililipat yung testing center mo from one region to another, because that has implications in terms of the number of questionnaires and answer sheets na ipapadala doon sa testing center. Okay, kasi laging eksaktong-eksakto lang yan. So they need to coordinate that with the registration division, registration and application division.
Okay po. Sige, now naman po, let's move to the actual board exam. There's a question po that if within the day of the first day, for example po, there is a confirmed COVID-19 exposure, what shall happen to the succeeding day of the exam?
Okay. There's actually a protocol for that. May protocol ang PRC. I think part of it binasa ni Ma'am Del kanina. Okay. Now the thing is that it depends kung saan kung karoon mo ba yung nag-positive. Kasi most probably kapag karoon mo yan, you will be asked to quarantine na, okay? Kung yung positive. Pero kung hindi naman, most probably magtutuloy yung exam mo if you're just within the building. Kasi ang titignan nila dyan is yung contact mo, yung direct contact with a person who's COVID positive. Okay, kung nagkaroon ka nga ba ng contact. Kaya may mga procedures for contact tracing and even post-exam. Kasi kasi di ba pwedeng after the exam may malaman na nag-positive pala during the exam itself. So may contact tracing na mangyayari kung sino yung mga nakahalubilo during the exam, even if post-exam na yung monitoring. Yes, Ma'am Del.
Yeah, paki-scan yung mabuti yung MO number 68 series of November 2020. Kasi nandoon lahat. Pre and post, at kung anong gagawin nung na-expose, hindi na-expose, at kung anong dapat nilang gawin immediately after finding out na nagkaroon sila ng signs or symptoms. Naka-spell out doon lahat.
At saka may required after the board exams, you are required to submit a monitoring report. Required yun.
Within 14 days.
Within 14 days. Okay. Whether you're well or not, you have to submit that.
Okay po. I think, let's see parang wala, let's see, nagtatype pa sila. Nagtatype pa sila as we go along. So tinitingnan ko po if my questions come.
Okay, yeah. Willing to wait.
Sige lang po. I think may pumasok po ate. Tama ba dahil? May pumasok for Ched?
Let's see Let me. Okay, let's see. It's not yet finished kasi typing on my end.
Typing din on my end.
Okay, sige. We'll give them a couple of minutes to
I
to
think
type
there's one more. Let me check.
Ayun, may naka-highlight for Ched. Ched ulit, sir. Sorry.
No, it's not for Ched. It's for PRC.
And then nasa Ched.
There's one more in Ched. Let's see. Ayan, meron pa nga. Okay, still typing. Sorry, Sir John. Ayan. So, again, for Sir John, just to clarify, this is from an educator. The requirement now is just 10 patients for the whole internship year.
Yes.
That's it.
Buong year na po.
If you can go more than that, the better for the student. Pero minimum yung 10. Yun yung gusto nila sa taas so that attainable siya.
Okay po. Sige po. Thank you, sir. And then for PRC naman po, as of now, given po the announcements of Sir John, will there be any other special requirements for future examinees to submit since medyo iba na po yung pinagdaanan nila ng internship as compared to the previous graduates? Would there be for the next exams naman po ata ito magiging applicable?
Are we
No.
talking about the December one or?
The December
Um,
or and even next year?
Opo, for the
Oo.
future board exams po.
Most probably for the
Wala.
documentary requirements, wala. Kasi remember, the documentary requirements are spelled out by the law.
Mhm.
So, unless we
I
amend
see.
the law, oo. So, yun lang. Yung certificate ng internship ninyo, yung TOR or yung certificate of graduation, and I think clearance, kung ano, birth certificate, yun lang. Yun yung mga documentary requirements. So, mukhang wala namang madadagdag.
Okay po. Mhm. Double check lang natin.
Yeah, let me
Parang
double
wala
check. Pero
naman na
parang
din.
wala na sign. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for answering all the questions, no, to our panel. Thank you, and to everyone who asked questions. We hope that we were able to help in answering all your clarifications. So if there would be cases wherein you were not able to ask the questions today, you can still send it to PAOT, and we will be compiling all the questions and then send them directly to PRC and SHED as needed. But for now, I believe there are no added questions. All right. So again, we thank you, our honorable guests, Honorable Delia Pabalan, Honorable Roland
You're
Lyle,
welcome.
and Mr. John Cabilso for giving us your time today on a Sunday, just to really reach out, no, to the whole community, since this has been a hot topic also for months. So we thank you, and we hope to hear more from you if there would be additional updates or changes regarding the matter. Because everybody's really looking forward, no, I believe, especially the students, for the December board exams. Okay, so
Okay. Thank you
with
for
that,
having us
So,
as well.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Happy
so with
Sunday.
that,
Happy
happy Sunday
Sunday.
po. Okay, so with that, we would like to present our certificate of appreciation to our guests. So the Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists would like to present this certificate of appreciation to Honorable Delia R. Pabalan, OTR, OTRP, FPAOT, to Honorable Roland Lyle Duque, MSc, OTR, OTRP, FPAOT, and to Mr. John Cabilso, MSc, PD, OTRP, FPAOT, for sharing updates from the Commission on Higher Education and Professional Regulation Commission on the special forum entitled Towards a Future Amidst COVID-19. Given this third day of October 2021 during the special forum organized by PAOT via Zoom. Signed by our President, Mr. Anthony S. Gresha, PhD, OTR, OTRP, and our Vice President for Programs, Ms. Maria Carissa Monteagudo, OTR, OTRP. Again, thank you so much. Right. So again, we're so happy to see everyone who's come today and has also cooperated and has been very patient for all the technical difficulties that we had earlier. So we're glad that we can now close the program. So in order for us to do that, then we call on our Vice President for Legislations, Ma'am Cynthia V. Isaac, MED, OTRP, OTR.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Hello. Hindi ko makita yung sarili ko kasi.
Yan. Kita niyo po kayo,
Anyway,
we're on spotlight na po.
good morning, everyone. Blessed day to all. And it's very always nice to see the familiar mentors of your occupational therapy discipline, occupational therapy profession. So if everyone, I think everyone, mostly students I saw on the participants list, and educators and practitioners, I hope we already we were thanking you already for what you have, Sir Honorables Dale Pabalan, Honorables Lyle Duque, and Sir John Cabilso, for sharing us this extra time, which is a derivative from our General Assembly to clarify more of your concerns, and I see it as a very dynamic developmental, being a developmentalist myself. It's always very nice to see that our discipline of occupational therapy is always responsive to the whatever is up ahead. No, challenging as this is, everybody, the whole mankind is challenged spiritually, physically, emotionally, everything else. And as an answer to that, please realize that this is what we're trying to do. The Philippine Association of Occupational Therapists, your mentors in CHED, your mentors in PRC, they are all there to support as you go through your profession. And if we have parents, I would like to assure them that this is how the practice of occupational therapy is in the Philippines. And this is why I think we are so much challenged also in terms of needs. So thank you very much for this. What I noted here is that please look into the PAOT efforts of your mentoring program, SNO, and the mental health projects that the PAOT has always set aside for you um, to meet the challenges of this pandemic needs. No, and like now, I'm just trying to recruit Joaquin Benedicto, but he's in Australia, and this is what I think he's helping to help. He's coming in to help for the clinical supervision as long as we collaborate. No, remember, this is a blended type of learning that we're trying to optimize, and we're trying to innovate for you practitioners and learners in occupational therapy. And these are all initiated by your association and your profession. Even WFOT has already online learning resources that are for free. So stay tuned to what PAOT has been putting onto the website. So you continue being learning professionals that you are. Remember that our occupational roles are challenged. Being persons from an occupational context, framework, and functions within us, know that our occupational performance covers a far more expanded scope, even at this time. So, if I may cheer you on furthermore to keep being an OT, laban lang, and no, and we appreciate any ideas from all of you. Thank you very much for sitting through the last 2-3 hours. Thank you again, and see you in practice.
Thank you, Ma'am Jake, for formally closing our event for today. So tulad ng sinabi ni Ma'am Jake, laban lang daw po. So we hope towards the future amidst COVID-19, sabay-sabay po tayong makakaplaban para sa propesyon at para sa bayan. So let me close this event by thanking the Special Forum Organizing Team. We have Ma'am Carissa Monteagudo, Cyril Torremania, Jeffrey Polino, Natania Garcia, Arden Panotes, and Charlie De Los Reyes, and yours truly. So please don't leave yet. We still have something to flash. We all know that APOTC 2021 is near. So we hope that for those who have not registered yet, you make your registrations, and here are just some quick snapshots of what to expect for the coming event. So please hurry and do sign up. And before you leave, we'll just ask everyone po sana who are still here to kindly turn on your camera so we can take a picture of all the attendees. And at the same time, we're just reminding everyone to please access the feedback form. It will be very helpful for the whole community and the organization for you to answer that, no? So that we could improve po the programs and our future projects. So again, just a note, no certificates will be provided for this forum. So this is the feedback form link po. I hope you were able to take that. It's also typed in our chat box.